Hello, my name is Katie O'Brien, and this is the final part of my application for the Desmos Fellowship. And I am going to be showing the Desmos team how to make a graph in Desmos, just the regular calculator. I think the activities are fantastic, but I think the tool that I use most frequently, day in and day out, is that calculator. So I'm going to teach you or show you how to make specifically a GIF. So I'm going to share my screen here. And I think it is this one that I want. So this is what I'm going to show you how to make. I have kind of been inspired recently by, I think it's Sarah Vandorf on Twitter, who was talking about her love of GIFs or GIFs, or depending on who you are. And I totally agree with it. I think it seems like a fantastic way to get kids hooked. And polar coordinates also kind of go along nicely with this because they are visual. They're meant to be seen, in my opinion, and I think they're really pretty. And the GIFs just seem to mesmerize students. I know it's a little mesmerizing to me to try to figure out what's going on here. And it allows for repetition in a non-boring way. So we're going to kind of make this graph here, and I'm going to show you how to make it into a GIF. So open up my Desmos calculator here. One of the things I like about Desmos specifically is because of the polar graphing capabilities. When you compare it to the Texas Instruments calculator, it just doesn't compare. It's phenomenal. So I'm going to put in a graph for sine of, let's go with bx and plus c, and notice how I didn't put in integers or numbers for the coefficient on x or for that constant value at the end. So Desmos is really friendly. It just says, hey, do you want to make a slider for this? And I say yes. I find sliders are my friend here because it just is way more engaging for students. Like, as soon as they make a slider, they have to play with it. I have to play with it. So right away, I've sort of won the game if students are playing with mathematics. So we've got our graph of our regular sine function, and they put in some sliders there for us. I'm going to do the same thing. Instead, though, I am going to use r and theta. So I'm going to have sine of b theta, let's find my theta, plus c. Okay, so I got my image here. One of the things I felt about polar coordinates is, man, they're cool. But in school, I was kind of taught, like, when the graph looks like this or when the equation looks like this is what kind of graph you get. And I didn't make the connection until I had to teach it, that really I was just making the connection between a sine function that I've studied a lot in the Cartesian plane and then a sine function that is just on the polar coordinate plane. So I probably, again, found this in the math Twitter blogosphere, but it just kind of clicked for me, so I've used it with my students, is making the connection of, well, when I shift my function over and under the axis, the y-axis here, I get a different shape. And so I'm going to kind of make that connection in Desmos by restricting my domain and range here. So I'm going to say I only want to show it in orange when I've got y values that are less than 0. So now it just pops up, gives me everything curly brackets that I need, and I can see as I move this, it shows me only less than 0. I'm going to copy and paste that equation below and do greater than 0, and it pulls up green. Yellow, try to be sensitive to students who have maybe are colorblind, so I'll change those colors later. But right away I can kind of see some fun stuff happening here as I shift my graph around, just switches colors when it hits the y-axis. And I'm going to do the same thing with my polar coordinates. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to only see this equation when y is less than 0, or not when y is less than 0, sorry, when r is less than 0. Okay, and it gave me that, and I'm just going to go ahead and play around with c and see what happens. Okay, so I get kind of a weird teardrop object. And I'll do the same thing here and make it greater than 0 this time. So I get the other half of my graph. So this is something I probably wouldn't make in front of students. I'd probably make this behind the scenes and then just show the final project to students. But students should be, in my opinion, be using Desmos to graph polar equations or equations in the polar coordinate system because it is so user-friendly. So now I'm just going to change up my colors a little bit by going to settings. And let's see, some colorblind friendly colors might be, let's go with, we'll keep orange, and then we will make this guy black. And this guy is going to be orange. So again, when it's less than 0, and this guy is going to be black. So I'm done. And I've got my kind of relationship there. So it's kind of fun. You can kind of see what's going on. I'm going to kind of shift this around because I am going to want to record it. So I'm going to change my slider by just clicking on it to go from -2 to 2. And my step, I'm just going to leave blank because I want it to be continuous. So we got this guy moving up and down. Not too bad. And then I haven't played too much with this. This is kind of one of my favorite things. It makes some really cool things. And we don't, in my school, we don't study when it's a decimal, when the coefficient of x is a decimal. But I mean, how easy is it to kind of look at it and enjoy the beauty of it in Desmos? So for my students, what I would do is I'd probably go ahead and I would make this go from like 0 to 8 and step up by 1 because we only study those integers. And so then when I'm showing it to students, we could kind of make some conjectures about what's happening here. Let's make this a little higher. When we've got some of these different shapes that are popping up. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that at 1 for now for my GIF. So I'm going to save my graph. I'm going to name it Desmos Polar Show. Save. One thing I love about Desmos is how easy it is to share these things. So I'll have students make things and then they can email me the link or submit the link somewhere or show it to another student. And then I'm going to go to, I just Googled Desmos GIFs. I think it's GIFmos or something like that. Here we go. And all I have to do is I take that link that I just copied and I can paste it in there. And I'm going to hide this because I think it's a little distracting for students. If I were doing this as like a warm-up sort of thing, a notice and wonder sort of thing, I just want them to pay attention to the graph, really. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it, the program, that I want to record it. But first I'm going to hit play. Yeah, looks pretty good. So I've got it playing. And I'm actually going to slow it down a tinge here, just so we can truly appreciate it. So now I'm going to go ahead and start recording. I'm going to start recording right now. And I'm going to let it make one full cycle here. All right, so now we should have our GIF made and it's processing it. And this is something that I might put up on the board for a warm-up just to get students' attention because I find it really mesmerizing and it leads students to make some good observations themselves before maybe we're going to graph it by hand, maybe we're going to take a look at some of the other aspects of polar graphs, but it's a good place to start. So that is one of the reasons why I love Desmos, and one of my favorite things about it is that calculator aspect for higher level courses. So that's what I have for you today. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.